All right, everybody, we are live. Hi, welcome to my channel. So, I decided rather than start with me on film and have to transition to my desktop until I get my video station set up, I'm going to go ahead and just start at my desktop. I am in the process of getting an additional camera, actually, a couple of them, so that way we can transition easier. I'm not real crazy about the way I've been transitioning. So I decided to go ahead and just start directly on my work desk. So hopefully that'll work for all of you. I think that will probably be a little bit easier rather than having to transition and have that awkwardness. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to create something kind of fun. I've created it in the past, and it is a naughty or nice meter. So the die set we're going to be using is this one from Sysix, and it's called Voltage. And you guys might be familiar with it. And I think I'm going to be upside down. So I am going to transition the camera so that way I'm not upside down. So bear with me here. All right. So I think that'll be a little bit better once we actually start going. So yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to be working with this Voltage Bigs die. And we're going to be creating a naughty and nice meter. Now, some of you might be wondering how we're going to do that, right? Because we don't necessarily have a meter or a stamp, or at least I don't have a stamp that says naughty and nice. And even if we did have one, we have to fit it into this die. So we could have a problem. So we're going to solve that today. So let me give you an example of some of the things that I've created with that Voltage die. And it's one of those, when it's released by Tim Holtz, you know immediately you need to have it. And this was one of those dies that I knew I had to have. So these are some of the things that I've created using that Voltage. And this is kind of what we're going to do today. We're going to create a rust meter. But instead of having just the meter gauge with some numbers, we're going to create something that says naughty or nice. Now you might be wondering how we're going to do that. Well, let me show you. So as a digital creator, I can create graphics to suit my needs. And that's exactly what I did here. I created this fun little meter, I guess, that says naughty and nice. And then you can add it to this. But you might be saying, well, what if I don't have this big die? Well, that's why you see the two different styles here. You have one that will fit nicely into the cut die. And you got to trust me, it fits. I've used this before. But then if you don't have this, then you can just use this one and put it on some background, right? So you might not have the full effect, but you'll at least have this little meter that you can work with. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be creating this little meter, and I'm going to show you how to make it rusty. And then if we have time, we'll turn it into a card. We may not have time because I definitely want to try to stick within the hour that I've always allotted, but we'll see how far we get. Okay, so if there is anybody out there in the live stream, go ahead and say hello if you would, and let me know where you are watching from. Now, as far as this principle, I am going to make it available for everybody. So if you go to my shop, Taylormadecards4u.com, all right, and you're going to search for meter. Okay, and the coupon code is naughty. And that will get you this to be able to download. So if you wanted to follow on or even try later on, you'll be able to do that. So that's what we're going to do. That's the plan. All right. So when you think about rust, there's three colors typically that you'll think about, right? You're going to think about, of course, your browns. So I have a few brown colors here. I have vintage photo, I have brush corduroy, and then I also have walnut stain. And then when you think about another color, you're going to think about a red and a yellow. So my reds here, I have crackling, campfire, and I have fired brick. And then for my yellows, I'm using fossilized amber. Now, I've done this before, so this isn't my first time trying it out, trying to figure out if these colors will work. They work because I've done this before. So if you have these are the ones that I would recommend. But if you don't have these particular ones, then just find a combination of your browns, your reds, and your yellows, because that's really what's going to work for your rust. Now, when we actually do some highlighting, I like to use black soot, and I didn't pull that one out, but I will pull that out if we get to that point. All right. So not only are you going to need your inks, and I would recommend the oxides. I find that the oxides actually work better than the inks with this technique. So you're going to need your inks. You're going to need your water. And then, of course, I would recommend for your cardstock using a heavier cardstock. Now, this is watercolor cardstock, and that's pretty heavy. It's got some nice texture as well. So that's what I'm going to be using. All right. So when I create the rust, typically what I'm creating the rust for, let me find my little examples here. I'm creating rust for this meter part here, this part here as well, and then my bolts. And all this are part of the die, which is really fun. I mean, they look like real bolts, in my opinion. Now this one here is a little brad that looks like a screw. So that's actually not part of the die. But the little meter is, of course. And then to get some of that rust texture, we're going to be using grit paste. All right. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and transform this white cardstock or watercolor cardstock into some rust colors. So that's what we're going to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my background for my browns. So I'm going to start out with some vintage photo and also use brush corduroy. And then I'm going to go ahead and just saturate this. And then if you've seen this technique before, it's pretty easy. If not, all you're doing is just, adding the color to your media mat, and then you're just grabbing it onto your cardstock. Now with this technique, I find that you're going to want to draw your layers as you go along. And let me grab a pad to clean this up. Okay, so you are going to want to draw your layers as you go along. So typically I'll have some sort of a rag to just clean off my surface. And then I apologize for the noise we're going to have. But in order for this to work, you have to build your layers. All right, so we're going to go ahead and continue with our layer building. This time I'm going to come in with walnut stain because I do want it a little bit darker. And then I'm going to use my vintage photo again. Same process. You're going to go ahead and just spritz it down, get it nice and saturated, and then come in for your next layer. And you're going to keep doing this until you're happy with the background. And as you can see, I don't have to put a lot of ink, and I'm able to grab most of it. So even though I am wiping it off in between layers, most of the ink you are picking up, especially if you're using watercolor paper. Okay, now there still are a lot of white spots on this. And I'm going to come in with one more layer of brown. But if you are happy with this, then to finish off your brown backing, you're just going to add the color, you know, with your ink. All right, but I'm going to actually come in with one more layer. And this time I'm going to I'll use my brush corduroy again. And then I'm going to introduce my fossilized amber. Right. So we're just looking to create a background, and don't get too hung up on the pattern, because remember, we're going to die cut it. So only part of it really is going to show anyway. But you're going to have extra rust, extra paper in the end to be able to make a few cards. So I see 4 people are actually in the live right now. So I would love for you guys to say hello. Let me know where you're from and what you might be doing this afternoon. Okay, so I am coming in with some more brown. This is my walnut stain. It's a little bit darker. And again, I'm just building my layers. So as you can see, we're getting a really nice buildup of layers here. I'm going to go ahead and add my brown to get rid of some of those white spots. And then we're going to introduce some more of our yellow and some more of our red. I just want to cover up some of these white areas. And because they're on the edge, they may not show anyway, but at least I'll have a finished paper that I can use, you know, for other projects as well. And if you even wanted, you know, you can just spritz some water, because remember, your ink is going to react with water. So if you want to move it around a little bit, maybe create some droplets, make it look a little bit more imperfect, you can do that as well. Hey there, you're loving it already. Yeah, so you might have missed the intro. What we're doing is we're creating a naughty and nice card we're going to use this voltage die. And this is kind of the effect we're going for. We're going to create this meter, but instead of it just having the numbers, we're going to do the naughty and nice. And in the notes, in the messages, I did put a coupon code if you guys want to try to recreate this. This is in my shop. It's the meter that I'm going to be using. It's what I created. And you can download this for free. And I did put the coupon code in the notes, and the coupon code is Naughty. So you'll be able to download this and create this on your own if you'd like to. All right, so now that we've got our background, what we're trying to do here is create a rust background. So we need to introduce our reds. And I think I want to introduce a little bit more yellow. We've certainly already got the brown tones in there. So now we want to introduce our reds. And I think either one of these would work. I don't remember which one I specifically used in the past. But I'm going to go with the fired brick right now. But I think crackling campfire would probably work as well. In fact, it probably has some orange tones. We'll try both of them. And then, like I said in the beginning, I think the oxides work better because you can layer a little bit better with the oxides. All right, so let's introduce some of this red and some more of this yellow because we want it to look rusty. So that red is introducing nicely. And remember, like I said, you want to dry each layer because you want to build the layer. You don't want to, you know, smush the layer. And when it's wet, remember your oxides are going to continue to react to water. So you want to have a dried surface when you add your next level. So this part of the project is probably what takes the longest. So when you are, yeah, see this one has some orange in it, whereas this one is a little bit more true red. So I think the red might actually look kind of cool. We're going to add them both. Because I think, oh, that's a little too much, but we can fix that. I actually kind of like that. Get some orange red over there. And then I'm just using it all up. Remember, when you cut this, you're not going to see these big splotches, so I'm not overly concerned. And I do want to get a little bit more color here because when I cut it, I want to be able to cut 2 meters. So let's get some red over here. I love how it changes every time you add more color. All right. You're not going to ruin it. You can just keep going till you're happy. So even if you... So even if you keep layering, I mean, just go to your heart's content. If you're enjoying the layering, just keep going. You're not going to ruin it. So you're asking, are we naughty? Today we're naughty. Yeah, because we are supposed to be creating, working on our Christmas cookies, and we're not. We're playing. So yeah, we're naughty today because I decided to play with my inks and oxides and not make my Christmas cookies. But you know what? I have time for that. So I wanted to share this with you. So if any of you guys are still creating Christmas cards, if you wanted to try this, you could. All right, so I think that looks pretty good. What do you guys think? So just gonna add a little bit more water to it. I just want to have it very random. And then we're gonna cut it out. Okay, so as you can see, it took, let's see where my stream, it took about, I don't know, about 10 minutes maybe to get this going. You know, you can do this as long as you want. You can create as many as you want. When I'm creating backgrounds, sometimes I will just create backgrounds just so I can have them ready, because this is the process. This is the part that takes a little bit longer. So I'm going to go ahead and get these cut out. I have everything set up in my cut station. So let me be right back. And while I'm cutting them, you can enjoy our finished project here. Okay, so I've got my meters cut out. But as you can see, I have enough for two. I went ahead and just cut out the one because I didn't want to keep you guys waiting too long. But this is our effect here, and we're going to be adding some texture to it. But I've got my bolts that we talked about, and I may have to cut a few more bolts. Not sure yet. And then sometimes with these bigs, these parts stick. So if you have a poker, you can pull these out. All right. Okay, perfect. It's enough to get us started. All right, so we want to add some texture. And the way that we're going to do that, before I do that, let me show you here. So this is the meter portion, but this is going to come out. We're not going to use that. Put my inks aside. What we are going to use is this right here. And as you can see, it's going to fit nicely. So this is what we're going to use for our meter. But before we do that, I want to add a little bit of texture, because you know, if you've seen rust before, it's not smooth, right? It has some texture to it. So that's what we're going to do. And then I'm also going to need my black soot. All right, so to add texture, you're just going to use grit paste. I've used different mediums, but I'm going to use grit paste. Hopefully it won't take too long to dry. And then I'm just going to randomly add it just to give us some texture. And as you can see, I'm just kind of dabbing. I just want to get some of those clumps to make it look like rust. And then we're going to dry it with the heating tool. I've never really, I shouldn't say that. I've dried it with heating tools before, but I want to be able to speed along the process. So I think that'll work. So I'm just adding some texture to make my rust look a little bit more realistic. Clean this off. And then I'm going to dry it. Hopefully I won't mess it up. Test it along the way. Still is a little bit moist. I don't have the luxury of letting it sit, but ordinarily when I'm making these, I'll make several of these and then I'll just let them sit overnight. But you know, with the live, I don't have the luxury of doing that. So I'm just going to dry it up. And what's kind of interesting, I don't know if you can see that, but it kind of even bubbles a little bit, which is kind of fun. It, like I said, it certainly works better to let it dry naturally. But for this sake, we'll just see what we can do here. But the goal here is to create some rust, some texture. So that's what we're trying to do here. And it works perfectly. You just have to give it some dry time. But because we're live, we don't necessarily have the time to wait. So I'm going to go ahead and just do some of my outlining here and give that a few more minutes to dry. Ground cinnamon makes good rust. Yeah, I've actually used that before. Yes. I have used ground cinnamon before, and you're right, it does. All right, so I'm going to just outline my meter, and I'm using black soot. I like the way that the black pops. A lot of times when I'm outlining, I'll use walnut stain, but I want the pop. But yeah, I'm not surprised about the cinnamon. It has great texture, and absolutely you can use it to make rust. Gotta save my cinnamon for my cookies though. The ones I'm supposed to be making right now. All right, so I'm just paying attention to my details here. I am adding some of this black soot on the inside, and then I'm also going to do it to my little bolts here. I don't want any of that white showing. Fingers are gonna get a little dirty. That's all right. But I don't want to have white showing. This is an old meter, so you wouldn't see any white showing on it. And then I'm going to come in a minute here and color up my rust. And for that, I'm going to be using my distressed crayons. I like the texture of distressed crayons. Not that one's white. You could probably use ink. So you've once coated an entire sort of margarita glosses upside down to be a post for, you know, you got to be creative, right? Yeah. All right. And then let's see. Yeah, dollar store is great to find additional items. Absolutely. All right. So this rust is pretty dry. Okay, so I'm going to come in with some walnut stain for my rust chunks. And I'm just using my distressed crayon. To do this. My rust isn't as dry as I would like it to be, but that's all right. Let me see. Ordinarily, I wouldn't use a paintbrush, but let's go ahead and, like I said, my rust isn't as dry as I would like it to be. So we're going to go ahead and just improvise here. But I want to show you how to add some texture to your meter. And you probably could use any color, I guess. You don't necessarily have to use walnut stain, right? Let's see. Let's see what other color I have here we can try. Oh, I got fossilized amber. Let's go ahead and add some of that. Now, ordinarily, I would just go right on top, but my grit paste isn't completely dry. So I am just wetting it down a bit and adding it with a paintbrush. But like I said, ordinarily, I would just go right over that grit paste. But I think that'll work for our purposes. All right. Okay. All right. So I think that's looking pretty good. You know, you can just keep playing with it till you like the look. Usually, you know, when you're making, it's just about you being happy with the way that it looks. I can share with you what I do, but ultimately you're just going to have to play and try to get it the way you want it to look. Yeah, you know, he has the one of the rust colors. I can't think of what, rusty hinge, but I agree it needs to be a little bit darker. Who knows? Maybe he will. All right, so we've got our meter. This is just that's not even cardstock. I found it at an antique, not an antique shop, a thrift store, but I really like the black, or the brick look. So that's what I'm going to be using for my background. But this is also part of the die. But for my purposes, I'm going to go ahead and just use this because I like the way that it looks. And then rusty hinge, yes. That's actually a good one as well. You could probably incorporate that as well to this. But like I said, any combination, or not any, but a combination of yellows, browns, and reds are going to be best for your rust. All right, so I've got my meter, and I'm going to go ahead and just make sure it's lined up here. Where is my glue? Let me grab my glue. And you see, I created the square version because I have the die. But if you don't have the die and you want to just add the meter, both of the meters are on that printable that I'm sharing with you guys. So at the beginning of the video, and also at the top of the chat, I did share with you, you can download that meter over at my shop for free using coupon code Naughty. So if you do want to try this and create a naughty or nice card and you need a meter, you can just grab it from the shop. All right, so I am just lining this up and I'll cut it after the fact. That's working pretty good. Now, if you wanted to, you can, grunge up your meter a little bit more. I didn't, but you could certainly do that. You can add a little bit of grunginess if you wanted to. Whatever you want to do. All right. So once I've got it in place, I'm going to go ahead and trim it. All right. Okay, so there is our meter. I'm going to add a little bit more of this black soot where I trimmed it. But for the most part, I think we're in good shape. Like I said, if you want to grunge it up a little bit, you can do that. All right. So there it is, you guys. There's our meter. So from this point, it's just a matter of putting it together. So we're going to put our rust pieces here, our bolts. I think I cut out enough. Let's see. I might be one bolt short, so I might have to come back to that after because I don't want to go off camera again. So I'm just going to go ahead and start putting my layers. This is my round part of my bolt. I really don't need that right there for right now. And these all came out of the voltage die that I shared with you. If you don't have it, you're going to have to kind of improvise, come up with your own bolts. I know that the Ideology line has some fake bolts that you might be able to use, but I'm sure you guys can figure that out. I almost feel like I'm going into surgery when I'm doing this. All right, so I want this to kind of hold its spot. My surgical tools. All right, so there's that. Let's just put the dot down maybe. Like that. And I am one circle short. I am one bolt loose. I'm missing one of my bolts. So I'll come back after the video and fix that. It doesn't, I might be missing 2 bolts. Yeah. So it doesn't impact anything because this isn't going to hit anything. but I am short. All right, so yeah, I'll come back to that, but you're going to want to do the same thing we did here. You know, that's bothering me. Hold on, let me just grab 2 more bolts. All right, so I cut out another circle. I still think I'm missing a screw. Did I only get the one? Yeah, I only got the one. All right, that's all right. And we're going to make it work. It's all in the details, you guys. All right, and then I will come back and add the top part of my screw. Oh, you know what? I got to put this. You know, I say I'm not going to worry about it. I'll come back and do it later. But, you know, when you're making something, you just love the way it comes together. So I'm not going to get up again. I need to add, I need one of these to go here. But I'll come back and I'll cut that out. All right. So here we are. This is where we're at. The next thing you're going to want to do is add your little meter. So are we going to make this card naughty or nice? What should we do here? Do we want the person that we're giving this to be naughty or nice? Or, you know what, we can make it so we can switch it back and forth. So, let's see. I mean, that's always the preferred way, right? To be able to not necessarily know who you're going to give it to, but you can switch it back and forth. All right. Okay, so I don't know where my punch is. Yeah, I don't know where that is. Okay, so you're going to want to punch a hole in this. I don't know where my hole puncher is, so I hope I don't poke myself. Let's see. And then we're going to, you know what, I need my hole puncher. I don't know where it is. So I need to punch a hole in this to go here. So I don't want to. Oh, there we go. Try not to poke myself because I'm going to end up with blood all over me. All right. So ordinarily, like I said, I would take a minute to find my hole puncher, but I don't want to keep you guys waiting. Okay. So I've got my brad here. I've got my hole. And now we can move this. Now you can glue this if you want to, but I want it to be able to choose my naughty and my nice. So now we can say, oh, you know what? I'm tearing it. Look at that. I just tore it. So I'm going to have to make another one. No worries. pull that out. Not a big deal. I am going to have to cut another one though. All right, so I went ahead and got another one. And since I was there, I went ahead and cut out another screw. So let me pull this out. All right, and add in my black soot again. Sometimes I just can't stand it. I said I was going to do the screw after the fact, but you know, we just want what we want. All right, so you might want to, if this is too thin, I'm using watercolor paper, so it should be okay. But if you need it a little bit thicker, you can usually double it. I don't know where my hole puncher is, so I try not to get blood all over this. All right, just enough to get that brad through. All right, now I gotta find my brad. There it is. Okay, let's try this again. All right, so the brad goes through the meter. Let's see, I need my hole puncher. All right, that's probably what's making it loose. Ordinarily, you're going to want to have a hole puncher. It's just, I don't know where it is. I had to run to Staples before this video because my ink cartridge was empty and I needed to print out the meter. So I wasn't as prepared as I normally am. Okay, there we go. Okay, so just don't make it too tight so you can move it. I want my card to be naughty. So we're gonna move that on the naughty. All right, so there's that. And then from here, you guys, all you're gonna do is glue this down and then put it on a card. I think we'll still have time to put the card together. I don't have any of my card stuff out though. And I didn't really plan. What I might do is finish the card off camera. Really what I wanted to show you is how to create the naughty and nice meter. So there it is. Not too bad, right? And then from here, just kind of put it on a card. Like I said, I haven't thought out the design yet for the card. We got a few minutes. You want me to go ahead and put the card together, or are you guys good? I mean, this was the main part I wanted to show you. Is to be able to create the naughty and nice meter. But if you have time to hang out, we can put a card together. It's completely up to you. What do you think? Should we put the card together? I think we have time. Let me go ahead and see if I can find some paper here that would work. I want a good contrast. Ooh, that's really bright. Like I said, I wasn't necessarily going to put the card together. Yeah, I need to think about this a minute. All right, so I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the card together off screen, and then I'll put a picture of it. I'll upload it when I edit this. But this is really what I wanted to share with you, is how to put together this naughty and nice meter. So hopefully I've given you some tips on how to do that. And don't forget, if you want to give this a try, you can download this over in my shop, Taylormadecards4u.com. And the coupon code is naughty to be able to get this. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close for now. And I'm going to put together this card because I really haven't decided exactly how I'm going to do it. So I don't want to necessarily keep you waiting. But I'll put pictures of it after I'm complete. So I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Hopefully I've given you some ideas for another Christmas card. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you've enjoyed the video, appreciate a thumbs up. And we'll see you again next time. All right, guys, take care.